8-bit sports games hold a special place in many people's hearts, but the fact is, many of these games can be clunky, clumsy, and quite frankly terrible. It takes a truly special gaming experience to hold up by 2020 standards, and you can't really fault any game for that, except for WWF WrestleMania, which, believe me, was objectively awful at the time. Thankfully, there are a few games that stood the test of time and remain just as fun as they were in the 80s and 90s. Or at least like 75 to 86% as fun. Nearly as fun. We're Operation Sports, I'm Matthew Ederer, and these are the top 5 NES Sports games that still hold up today. Number 5. NES Open Tournament Golf. A remake of the game Family Computer Golf on the old Famicom Disk System, NES Open Tournament Golf was released in September 91 on the NES and Famicom systems. In many ways, this is the grandfather of Mario Golf. In fact, this game probably would have been much more popular if it were just called Mario Golf, which it easily could have been, seeing as it's Mario playing golf. But I digress. Playing as Mario, and with the help of your caddy Princess Peach and your accountant Donkey Kong for some reason, you use a classic two-swing mechanic to drive and chip your way down the 8-bit links. It will come as no surprise, but this is a pretty basic game. You only get a handful of clubs, there are only 3 courses on the North American version, and there are no wacky power-ups or crazy pipes or meme-worthy Waluigi hijinks. But what it lacks in style, it makes up for with a simple and rewarding experience. Pretty much anybody of any age should be able to pick up this game and play it with some degree of success. Number 4. Ice Hockey. We, by which I mean I, debated long and hard between this and Blades of Steel, and eventually decided on Ice Hockey for the one reason that anyone who has ever played this game already knows. Skinny, fatty, medium. When you begin a game of Ice Hockey, you are able to select essentially a class for each of your 4 roster players, either fast and skinny, slow and huge, or the creamy middle. An absolutely genius idea, this factor alone keeps players coming back to the game Ice Hockey, and quite frankly will for generations. While the actual on-ice hockey in Blades of Steel for NES is maybe slightly better, arguably, the level of customization and depth that this one little idea added to Ice Hockey gives it lasting replay value to this day. But then again, you could fight in Blades of Steel, and only the loser of the fight got a penalty, which is, in and of itself, also a genius mechanic. Number 3. Super Spike V-Ball. One of the great lost NES sports titles, Super Spike Volleyball was a remake of the arcade hit US Championship V-Ball. Players select one of 4 teams, George and Murphy, the classic well-balanced team, Al and John, the powerful slow team, Ed and Michael, the fast weak team, and Billy and Jimmy from Double Dragon for some reason. Players then work their way through a championship ladder similar to Mortal Kombat, with an equal amount of spikes. Oh my god, what a terrible joke. A highly enjoyable game this is, though, for both single and multiplayer. Super Spike Volleyball is, for my money, one of the most underrated sports games of all time, which is a big statement, I know. And, admittedly, it's pretty hard to screw up a volleyball game. It's essentially just Pong, right? But, for some reason, volleyball games don't get made that often, and this particular one does not get the love that it deserves. Check this game out if you haven't played it before. Number 2. Tecmo Super Bowl. Tecmo Super Bowl and its predecessor, Tecmo Bowl, are without a doubt 2 of the most popular and beloved sports games ever created. Tecmo Super Bowl retained the fast-paced arcade football vibe of the original game, but added new features such as a coin toss, fumbles, stat tracking, NFL records, substitutions, and player injuries. There's really not a ton that I could add to the Tecmo Bowl discourse. Far better men than I have written far many more words that I'm going to say here about this game, but the fact that these games still to this day get fan-made roster updates every season should tell you everything you need to know. It was a really tough call between this and the eventual number 1 game, for which is the most replayable in NES history. You really can't go wrong with either one, but feel absolutely free to loudly disagree with me in the comments section if you'd like. Number 1. Mike Tyson's Punchout. Now, it's usually pretty obnoxious when someone describes something like a video game as beautiful, let's be honest. So please forgive me for being obnoxious here. Mike Tyson's Punch-Out is a beautiful video game. So complex and difficult that it's baffled gamers for 30 years, but yet so simple that it can be beaten with a blindfold on, so long as you are a crazy person. Punch-Out games are perhaps the gold standard for replayability from the 80s and 90s. Games Radar once called Punch-Out a brilliant puzzle game disguised as a sports game, which is not only an apt description, but I think the reason why it does hold up so well. There wasn't any other games like Punch-Out before, and quite frankly, there's never been a game like this since, except, the two other Punch-Outs. That's going to do it for us today at Operation Sports, but if you like this video, click that thumb and subscribe if you have yet to. Keep it locked here for more content on pretty much any sports game you can ever imagine. And if you'd like to hear more from me, well, my name is Matthew Ederer, and I've started up something called the Fantasy Gaming League, where we go back in time to recreate sports history by playing through every old iteration of a given sport game. Take a look-see, and if you're interested, give us a subscription and a few thumbs up too. And thanks for watching, everybody. Stay safe.